Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick is to tell us that the current 51,000 people who are staying in 400 hotels at a cost of £8.2 million a day, it's all going to be solved because 100 of the hotels will close. Interestingly, it would appear that most of them are going to close in key marginal constituencies. I'm guessing, Ivan Sampson, immigration lawyer and friend of the programme, I mean, if you clear them out of hotels, you've got to put them somewhere, haven't you?
Indeed. And so where do you put them? I mean, are they going to put them up in barracks or in the BB Stockholm barge?
Yeah.
And that's already had challenges on human rights grounds, and which I know you're going to complain about. But,
we'll come back to that, yeah.
But the problem is that these accommodations are meant to be for short periods under Section 95 of the Immigration and National... And that's the problem. So when you're housing people for long periods, they've got a right to say, wait a second, you can't house me in a barrack, in dormitories, for months on end.
Oh, no, they've got all sorts of rights. I'm certain of that. One of the problems, of course, has been the massive backlog. Now, the government are pleased that only 25,000 young men have crossed the Channel this year. We're supposed to cheer as if that's some kind of victory. And interestingly, Jenrick has also hinted over the last couple of days that we can't stop the boats completely, which seems a bit of a surrender from where Rishi was. But they do say that the numbers of those waiting to be processed, that list is now declining rapidly. Is that because basically we just let everybody stay?
That's not actually accurate. What's declined is legacy applications.
Yeah.
So anything pre-June 2022, that's gone down by about 50%.
OK.
So that has declined. But what's happening is, as more people are coming through, the backlog is actually at 175,000. That's the current waiting backlog.
Still enormous.
Well, it's the highest it's ever been.
Yeah.
And so... And what they're trying to catch their tail, and the more people are coming. Thankfully, there's been a reduction of 30% from the numbers last year.
Yes.
Why that is, no one knows. I don't think it's down to the weather, and it's certainly not down to the French doing their job, or any government policies, but it's gone down.
Yeah, I mean, it's down. I think the weather's been a huge factor, actually. But, I mean, 200 came today because it was a relatively calm day. I think the weather has been a factor. The Albanians aren't coming because that particular loophole was closed. But still, you know, if I'd said to you folks at home 5 years ago, 25,000 young men will cross the English Channel in dinghies in 2023, you wouldn't have believed me. So whichever way you cut it, it's not that great. Much of this, I mean, of those that are going through the process, most get accepted, don't they?
They do.
Most are allowed to stay.
They do.
Because we can't deport them anyway.
And that's the problem, because we don't know where they're from.
No.
And people know that. When they embark on these journeys, they know that when they get here, nothing's going to happen to them. They will eventually settle in the UK.
I know.
That's the problem with this.
A huge part of the problem. Now, the big disincentive that the government came up, of course, with was the Rwanda plan. We've had the hearing, the 3-day hearing at the Supreme Court. We have a judgment coming in December sometime, we think. And it would appear from the briefings that are now coming out, you know, through the government, sort of back-of-the-hand stuff to senior journalists, they expect to lose.
I think that's the general consensus. And I think what's worrying is what advice are they getting before making these announcements? Because I read today in The Guardian that the next flight will be in February. Now,
yeah, I read that.
I read that article. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think, again, they're putting the cart before the horse and making these announcements for whatever reasons they have. But no, if they lose the Rwanda, if the government lose the Rwanda ruling, then I'm afraid that policy is dead in the water.
Yeah.
£100 million has also been wasted by the government.
And even if they win, they can be taken to our friends in Strasbourg, can't they?
Indeed.
I'm going to make a prediction. I think if the government does lose this case, which I think it probably will, I think that's the moment at which we get a big political shift and we start to have a serious debate about continued membership of the ECHR, where you and I will disagree very strongly. Do you still think we should stay part of this thing?
No, I think we need to look at the ECHR, the parts that benefit the country and the parts that don't. I'm totally with you.
So can we derogate from the bad bits?
Well...
Because it's been said before that there are rulings from Strasbourg that some member states actually just choose to ignore, and we sort of half ignored the votes for prisoners stuff. Is there some middle ground, do you think, somewhere?
It's in negotiation. Look, the treaty has to be ratified by all the members. And that's going to take how long? Yeah. So can we just pull out some parts? No, we can't. We need to either remove ourselves from that, and then we have to remember Northern Ireland.
Do you know what?
And so I think it's a lot more complex.
And it's written into all the devolution packages. No, it is. Well, it's rather like the Brexit debate. Can we reform from within or do we leave? Ivan Sampson, thank you very much indeed.